Hi everyone, this is Arfat from StartPath Academy, and I want to talk about real estate a little bit. And I just released "If you don't learn from history, nothing will save you" video, which is the second part of the analysis video of the 5-part series of Lebanon boiling, which is an interview with someone named Ali, a gentleman named Ali from Lebanon. And during that time, we talked about real estate a little bit, gold, and so many other things. However, regarding real estate, there are a couple of things you need to understand. And one of those things is that it's not the best inflation hedge and even hyperinflation hedge when it comes to the price of real estate going up. However, you need to get a holistic picture of hyperinflation and what it is, and not just X reached Y on this chart during this time, and reading a book about hyperinflation or two and having these anecdotes, which is important, I think, as long as you have enough of them, and hopefully from live sources, right? And that where they can give in more details about what happened. Real estate is one of those things. We know that, during the Weimar Republic hyperinflation, an ounce of gold would have bought you a house. I'm pretty sure that's true. And maybe even still true in Detroit. Who knows, right? But you probably get the point where I'm getting at. Depends on the condition, depends on the city, what's going on with the city. There's a lot of things that you need to consider now, and also you need to consider what is the economic outlook, right? If the economic outlook is so bad, they wouldn't even want half an ounce of gold, right? So it could totally happen. It's not out of reach. Absolutely. Hyperinflation time is crazy time. I know that. I lived through it. Back in Romania, my family seen it all and probably done it all, and hopefully I learned from it all. So regarding real estate, it's not the best inflation hedge. Possibly a can of tuna might be a better hyperinflation hedge when it comes to hyperinflation in a country that is starving, right? A can of tuna might go up much more higher per price or per unit or percentage, or how you want to put it, than a real estate in downtown New York where everybody's scrambling for food in a hyperinflation situation. Yes, but actually there's only so much tuna you can buy, right? Large money needs to be parked somewhere. And sometimes gold, by the time people get into it, has already outpaced inflation and it's too expensive to buy, and people will look for other alternatives. And then there are very hardcore people who are, for whatever reason, anti-gold. Maybe they've been brainwashed by the media for so long, I don't know, but they just don't like it for some reason. They will never get gold. They would rather pump their money into Bitcoin or something like else. Let them do it, right? They can do whatever they want to do. But real estate is something that the average person knows. Everybody knows that it's good to own a house. Some point in your life, you might want to own a house, right? It's not, you don't have to be an economist, you don't have to be a genius to know that. So that's one thing. It's actually very liquid. Gold, it can be liquid, but can be also illiquid. And sometimes you don't actually know the actual price of it, because in hyperinflation, everything is valued on the spot, right? And you might not know that you are getting a good deal or a bad deal. But everybody knows what a real estate is, what an apartment is, what definitely a single home, a single house is. So it's a good thing because it lasts a long time. A can of tuna might last 2 years, 3 years, but it might not last 30 years or 20 years. So a house lasts a long time. Not as much as gold, right? But it lasts a long time. A lot of people know what it is. right? And it's actually a physical thing, unlike stocks, unlike, promises of paper on paper. It's a physical thing. Now actually you owning it might be somewhat a hybrid thing, because you're actually just a name on a paper somewhere. But as long as you can physically protect it, you have the means to protect it, you may have the means to guard it, and so on, it's a physical thing, right? And third, or fourth rather, it actually has a leverage part to it, right? A bank might not give you a loan to purchase real estate if you have a very, very bad credit. But regularly, it's an easy thing to have leverage on, right? Gold, not so much. Will a bank owe you money to buy gold? I don't know, probably not. Will they give you money to own stocks? Definitely not. There's margins, there's costs, there's other things how you can buy stocks with leverage. But the percentage wise, it might be very different than a low cost 2-3% mortgage that you can get. Basically anyone can get, as long as they have some credit worthiness. I probably missed something. It was not credit score. I bought my house without a credit score. You can do it as long as you don't have bad credit, right? So anyway, there's a leverage to it. You can buy $100,000 house with $10,000 down, or so on. Maybe investment home, $25,000 down. So when it comes to hyperinflation and everything is inflating away and everything is gaining in price, you actually are gaining the full appreciation of the full house, right? Of the whole house, I should say, instead of just gaining the appreciation of the 25% what you put down, or 10%. Let's say go with the 10%. So let's say if you would have had that money of $10,000 and you would have purchased gold, right? And then let's say if you put that $10,000 and you buy a house of $100,000, right? Let's say a house goes up 30% in value. That's now 30% in value on the full house, right? On the whole house. So you gained appreciation on $100,000, not just $10,000. So that means 30%, you just gained $30,000 on $10,000. That's pretty good. Now if you buy gold with it, right, it has to go up 400%. No problem. In hyperinflation it might go up. Absolutely, I've seen it in my lifetime go up multiples of that. It's not out there. However, there's another thing on there, right? That you actually, during hyperinflation, just because prices go up, after a certain period, wages go up and food prices go up and other things go up, not just the asset itself. That means there's a depreciation of the purchasing power. That means that there's a depreciation of what you own on that house. That $90,000 that was loaned to you is now losing and now being lost in value. The average, not even the average, the minimum wage in hyperinflation Romania became at some point like 88 million Romanian lei. Okay, now if a hyperinflation would happen and the minimum wage would become, I don't know, maybe $500 an hour, it's not out there. Definitely not in these situations. I mean, look at what's going on. Now if that would happen, that money that you own, which is fixed, would be very easy to pay off. So it's not just depreciation that where you're gaining value. It's actually you are destroying your debt, or rather hyperinflation or high inflation is destroying your debt. That is where I think the bulk of the money is being made during inflation, not the value of the asset going up, but actually destroying debt destruction, constructive debt destruction. That is where you're gaining money, I think. That has happened in Romania during my lifetime. I know of multiple people who were able to pay off their house mortgages. That was always a bit different because it was under communism and was a bit different, but technically the payment and everything was like around 15 years that they would have needed to pay for, and eventually after hyperinflation they were able to pay it off in 3 months. And then I know another person who was able to pay it off in 1 month. So salaries, everything is fluctuating, especially foreign currencies. If you made your money in foreign currency or other currency that is not whatever is hyperinflating, you can gain a lot of value out of that and depreciate, or rather pay off the debt you have. Now, there in history there have been cases where that's not that easy, so I'm not saying it will always work out, but as long as the political ship doesn't change and everybody keeps the contract, right, and their end of the contract, then this is a likely scenario, very likely in fact. However, a lot of people don't have enough cash during a start of a hyperinflation situation where they can keep the real estate. Usually it depends on the country, but there could be a deflationary period, a flock into cash, a shortage of cash before a hyperinflation, loss of trust in the currency happens. That means when this cash shortage happens, a lot of people are actually losing their houses because they did not have enough cash on hand to cover their mortgage payment. That is where most of the people lose their houses in the initial period of the hyperinflation. After that, taxes is one thing, but technically it gets easier and easier to keep the house. So know that, right? However, with houses is that you have to be able to keep it even if you cannot rent it. So you have to make sure that you have enough space, time, and everything else you need to cover the payments forever, whatever that period you think that the hyperinflation will last. Because what has happened in hyperinflation Romania, and many cases other than that, just Romania, that I have studied, that large cities empty out for many reasons. However, the biggest reason is lack of food, lack of accessibility to food and necessities. People tend to grow gardens, go outside of the big cities, and somehow keep alive as much as they can. But the big center of the city, which used to be very, very populated and important, is not that important in hyperinflation. So actually picking up real estate in the middle of the city in a very busy area, a very good area in normal times, is good to pick up during hyperinflation. Not so much picking up now before hyperinflation, if a hyperinflation situation would happen. Alright, so that's a crash course of hyperinflation and real estate. If you want more, make sure to follow the channel, like the video, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Thank you very much.